So welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why we almost didn't buy our Tesla Model Y. In fact, we were actually this close to going the complete opposite direction, so let's just jump right into it. If you're new here, my name is Arnell. This is Range Anxiety, where we talk about EV cars, EV ownership, and EV news. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and drop a like down below if you want to see more videos like this. So like I said, we were so close to not buying our Tesla, and we were so close to actually going the complete opposite direction. So I'd love to go over the two things that actually changed our minds to solidify our decision in getting the Model Y. So as you know, we've talked about Teslas before in the past on several other videos, and the Tesla in our driveway is actually my wife's car. Now, we kind of had to make a last-minute decision because her car before that she had was a 2011 Toyota Sienna. It was a great car. We drove it all up and down the East Coast, went for lots and lots of miles, just a lot of really fun memories in there, but it was pretty much on its last leg. There was a lot of things that needed to get done that was going to cost more than what the vehicle was worth. And so ultimately we decided that it was best to start looking into another vehicle. And the AC was actually going out on it. It was getting into summer, and so we needed to actually make our decision pretty quick because we have two littles, so we're a family of four, and so with just the high heat and humidity around where we live, we wanted to kind of make our decision relatively quickly. So as we started to look at other vehicles to make a decision, as you do when you're needing to buy another vehicle, we went to sites like Car Gurus, True Car, all things like that. Not sponsored, by the way, but we basically went to these sort of aggregate websites so that we can just start finding other vehicles that just could meet our needs. And we were completely open to almost anything. We wanted to obviously get something that was reliable, something that was relatively fuel efficient, and something that was large enough to carry our family and our stuff, but not something that needed to be as big as a Sienna. I mean, as a family of four, we didn't need a minivan. It was great having all that space. We absolutely loved it, but we didn't need it. So we ended up just, looking at a bunch of different things. We were seriously looking at a couple of three-row SUVs, the Honda Pilot, 2018 or 2019, with like 80,000 miles. The Ford Explorer, Toyota Highlander was out of our price range. At least, we wanted to get something that wasn't crazy high on the miles, and we were looking at a couple of other ones. We were so close to actually booking an appointment to test drive a 2021 Hyundai Santa Fe. And honestly, the SUV, it looked great from the pictures. It actually had very low miles as well, and it was reasonably priced, and so we were interested in that. And then we came across a post for a Kia Niro EV. And my wife actually really loved it. So we've had two Kias in the past, a Kia Soul and a Kia Sorento. Absolutely love Kias. Most Kias, newer than like 2010, 2011, have just been great. At least that's been our experience, and, driving them and everything like that. So we felt very comfortable jumping into a Kia Niro, especially an EV. I've had an EV for a little close to about a year now. And so just the EV mindset and lifestyle change was something that I was already accustomed to, and that's something that my wife was open to trying out. And then we did some research on the size of it and the overall storage capacity, and it just wasn't enough for us. We wanted something that was slightly bigger, something that was slightly wider, had a little bit more distance between our two boys. They can sometimes get a little physical with each other. And we wanted to have something that had more storage space, not only in the trunk, but also actually having a frunk as well. Because if we were considering doing an EV, we wanted to try and go like all out for an EV, do the traditional frunk to be able to have some extra storage space right up there, especially for like food leftovers, or like if we're road tripping and we need quick access to snacks at a rest stop or something like that. We can just pack all of our ready to go stuff right in the front of the vehicle, and that way it's not clogging up the interior. We don't have to like go digging in the trunk or anything like that. But yeah, so we wanted to kind of, have some more storage space and have something that was a little bit bigger. Then we immediately started looking, almost immediately started looking at some larger electric SUVs, or even hybrids. We were kind of open to hybrids, but for myself, as somebody that is kind of the one that is in charge sort of like maintenance on vehicles, making sure we do all the oil changes, making sure we, do all the different timing belts and stuff like that. I was actually getting pretty tired of maintenance on our gas vehicles. So, one of the reasons why I switched to EVs myself, coming from a Toyota Camry to a Nissan Leaf, is because of the maintenance. It's really all that I've done in the last year that I've had it is replace the rear brakes for the first time, because the previous owner didn't do that and they didn't need to. And I hardly ever used the brakes, but it was time to do that. And that's really it. I just put in windshield washer fluid earlier today. So that is the extent of the maintenance that I've done on my car. And on my wife's car, the Toyota Sienna, the last time I did an oil change on it, and I've been pretty religious about the oil changes, and I've done most of them, all of our ownership of cars. I ended up having a huge oil spill right in the driveway because for whatever reason, the oil filter just decided to spew out a bunch of oil. And I've done this countless times, but for whatever reason, the just oil filter just kept going. I had already drained the main pan, whatever. We don't need to get into all the specifics, but as I was cleaning up that huge oil spill, I told myself this is the last time I'm ever going to do an oil change. And then I brought it to an oil change shop when it was time for the next oil change, and the prices have shot up like crazy. So, anyways, that's a story for a different day. So, even though we were open to hybrids, she's had a Prius in the past, I didn't really want to deal with the maintenance of it. It's just something that I have to keep logs and track it all inside a logbook, and I'm the kind of person that I want to make sure it's all meticulously done well. If I'm going to do it, I want to make sure it's done well, and so it was just something that I just didn't really want to invest so much of my time into, and so and she was kind of on board with that. Not that I heavily influenced our decision, but she was on board with it. She preferred me not having to do all the maintenance on the previous cars and everything like that, and spending the time out in the driveway. Spending time, if it was like a relatively major thing that I needed to do, I would spend hours watching YouTube videos on how to do the repair and stuff like that. And so she would prefer me not having to spend all that time. And so she was very willing to just jump ship and just go full all electric. So once we kind of narrowed down that we wanted to go electric, then the two things that really set us to deciding on the Model Y is because of the charging infrastructure and the features of the vehicle. So we weren't immediately sold on getting a Tesla because some of them can be expensive. At least that's the initial mindset of it. And so it just wasn't our immediate thought. Our immediate thought was looking, okay, maybe Kia has a slightly larger EV. And they do, the EV6. It is more expensive than what we were trying to get, at least when we were purchasing our car. And so we were then looking at, other similarly sized vehicles. We did see some other options that were out there, but then this is where one of the things came into play of the charging infrastructure. So we wanted to get something that wasn't CHAdeMO based, because my Nissan Leaf is CHAdeMO based, and so if we're ever going on a road trip or something like that, my car is not the one to take for several reasons, but CHAdeMO is kind of the biggest one, at least in my case, because most chargers around me and along our routes for any kind of road trips don't support CHAdeMO, or the stations themselves are extremely unreliable. And so, again, that kind of feeds into the charging infrastructure. I mean, we, looked into different things. Maybe it has a CCS port, so then we can look at Electrify America, EVgo, some of the other electric charging stations that are around. And as I've driven past some other charging stations, again, this is purely anecdotal, and this was before we got our Tesla, so it's not like it's been an influenced, viewpoint that I'm looking at it as. Every time I would drive past, there would be one or two stations or stalls that were completely shut down for maintenance, or it was just completely in like disarray, or the stations, at least around us, are in a very inconvenient area. And so it just wouldn't have made sense to kind of go with some of the other options that were out there. So once we started looking at some of the other vehicles and realizing, okay, this is a great vehicle, oh, but that would mean that we would have to go to these charging stations, or, maybe the charge port is kind of in a weird location that, at least in our driveway, it would mean having to change how we do things completely. So there was a lot of like little nitpicky things that we were looking at, and so and this was all done within one night, actually. So it's so funny. We did all of this research, did all this conversation, and we stayed up until nearly midnight, 11:30, which for us is extremely late. And we ended up finding the perfect vehicle, right before we went to bed. But yeah, so basically, it all boiled down to looking at some Teslas. So we came across a listing for a Model X, which a Model X would be a great size for us. It's obviously bigger than our Model Y, but I didn't want to go quite the Model X because of the Falcon doors, or the Falcon wing doors, or whatever in the back. Mainly for the reliability of it. It's a really cool feature, but if that thing goes, or if it gets stuck in an open position, it's a very expensive repair, right? Or it's just incredibly inconvenient if it's under warranty. So that's just something that we just didn't really want to have to worry about, especially for my wife. And so I didn't want her to have to worry about that or anything like that, have to deal with that situation. And so, yeah, we ended up finding a couple of Model Ys, and we ended up getting ours directly from Tesla. So what was really cool about that is we were able to just search right on the website. And obviously, if you bought a Tesla, then you know this whole process. But it was just cool for us because that was our first time doing it, where we basically just did everything online. And it was kind of scary because it was obviously a used Tesla Model Y, so we didn't even see what it looked like. We placed our order deposit, and we ended up getting it. But, until we were there to pick it up for delivery, that was our first time seeing the vehicle. So there was a lot of adjustments that we had to do, because obviously we're used to seeing a vehicle, test driving it, making sure that we like it and all that kind of stuff before we buy it. So it was a different format, but we also kind of trusted that if it met Tesla's standards, whatever those standards are for a used car purchase or a used car sale, then it probably would be good enough for us. The only thing is we didn't know if it would have a smoke smell to it. So that was kind of our concern there. But anyways, kind of getting off into a tangent there, which I am known to do quite often. Yeah, so we ended up, finding a Model Y that just was within our budget. We were also able to use the used EV tax credit, which definitely helped us. Now, unfortunately, that's going away next month, but that is something that definitely did help us. And the cost of it ended up being less expensive for lower miles with a warranty that we wouldn't have been able to get with the Hyundai Santa Fe we were looking at, that we almost pulled the trigger on it, because we're the type of people that will do all the research, online, and watch videos about a vehicle, and then we'll do a quick test drive. And if the quick test drive, everything checks out there, and the car doesn't smell like smoke, like we're just going to buy it. So in my eyes, we were so close to getting that Santa Fe, or at least another one of the options that we were looking at. The Honda Pilot was another really close contender there. And so, yeah, we ended up deciding on the Model Y because of that charging infrastructure, knowing that we can rely on the Tesla Supercharging network, knowing that it's a very easy process. My wife doesn't have to fiddle with a screen on the charger that, the touch screen might not work, or the, screen might not be backlit. And so now she's having to like hold her phone, with the flashlight up to be able to see the screen. The infrastructure for the Supercharger was great. And we also really love the mobile connector that you can get with it, whether you get it with the vehicle or you purchase it directly from Tesla. We loved that because that allowed us to be able to set up level 2 charging at home with that same mobile connector, be able to get level 2 speeds and have a full battery, or full battery, 80% every morning. And we can also take that mobile connector with us and take it to, a friend's house, or take it to family's house if we're going on a vacation or something like that, and be able to either level 2 or level 1 charge there as well. And there's no extra fuss about it. We just basically just wrap it up and put it in a little bag and put it in the frunk or somewhere in the car, and we're good to go. So, and that's not to say Tesla is the only manufacturer that has a mobile connector that's like that, but it is relatively rare. Like my Nissan Leaf only came with a level 1 charger. And other brands will typically only do like a level 1 charger just to kind of get you a trickle charge, and then it's up to you to be out in the wild west for your level 2 charging. So we loved that when it came to the charging infrastructure as well. We also really loved that we were able to set a charge limit. We were able to set a charging schedule and timer. Some of those features, even in like brand new 2025 cars, can still be missing sometimes. And my Nissan Leaf, other 2025 Nissan Leafs, you can't set a charge limit. So there's like little weird things like that that are just kind of lacking and missing. And so that was another reason to want to get that. Now, the other thing that really helped to kind of push everything over the edge was the features of the car. So we wanted something, when we started looking into different vehicles, different options, we wanted to kind of upgrade and get access to some things that we just don't have now. So we would have loved to get a vehicle with CarPlay, even though obviously the Model Y doesn't have that. There is a little bit of a workaround on that, but I can show that to you in another video. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know down below. But we were very interested in CarPlay for the navigation, the being able to send and listen to messages, being able to just kind of do all your stuff in CarPlay and stuff like that. So we definitely would have wanted to get something like that. So that was some kind of smartphone integration would have been great to get. Now the other thing is some different things like being able to precondition the car. Of course, you can do that in gas vehicles as well, and so there were some gas vehicles that we were looking at, we would have been able to do that. And so in having access to these features coupled with the charging infrastructure with obviously Tesla, we were able to really find what we consider to be the perfect vehicle for us, at least at this stage in our life. Because obviously in the app, we can adjust the climate. We can vent the windows if we want. We can honk the horn if we want. We can, watch a live feed from the Sentry mode, various different things, send route planning and navigation instructions to the car. There's a lot of different integrations and functionality that you can do, and that's just from your app. I mean, inside the car, you have, obviously, if you're paying for premium connectivity, then you can have your navigation in there. You are missing CarPlay, but you at least have your Apple Music. You have built-in navigation, which works fantastic, especially with the built-in route planning. So there's so many different key features that are just really well integrated in there. Plus rear seat vents, rear charging capability for kids' tablets, stuff like that. The sub trunk, the extra storage space on the sides of the trunk, the relatively large front trunk as well. Automatic lights, fog lights, some things that are relatively common to find in almost any vehicle today, but just really nice upgrades for us that really just the combination of all of that really sealed the deal for us. And so because of the combination of that integration of all the features with the infrastructure of charging, and whether it's home charging and the different options that we can do there, or public charging and the reliability of Tesla Superchargers, it's the combination of all of that that really pushed it over the edge, that really got us into getting the Model Y. Again, we were so close, at least in my eyes, we were so close to getting a gas vehicle. We probably would have gotten that Hyundai Santa Fe or that Honda Pilot that weekend, but we're so glad that we didn't go that direction. We were so used to the gas world, the gas infrastructure. With my car, with me going EV, some would say that, naturally the idea would be to look at EVs first. But with my car having a small range and CHAdeMO charging, not having active thermal management for rapid charging, it wasn't the first thought for me. It was the last thought for me. And so, it was my idea, because we also would use my wife's car for road trips, that we typically go on a relatively large road trip along the East Coast every year. And so her car would be the road trip car. So in my mind, naturally, maybe just getting another gas car is just the easiest thing. We know we can always make our road trip just fine. We don't have to worry about anything else. But the more we thought about it, the more we looked into it, the more that we spent hours looking into the different things there, it really seemed to have made sense. Along with the pricing, along with that EV tax credit, really helped it out and really just sealed the deal for it. So we're really glad we didn't go the other direction. We're really glad we went with our Model Y. We're absolutely loving it, and we're loving all the features, full self-driving, all the different things. It's just been awesome. And so hopefully this video was helpful to kind of see the background of why we got the Model Y, how we almost didn't get it in the beginning, why we didn't even consider it when we were looking at another vehicle. And yeah, I mean, it's just an awesome family car. It's been great for our family. So hopefully you enjoyed that little story. And if you want more videos on Teslas or more videos on electric cars, definitely let me know. I can talk about electric cars for days. So if there's any questions that you have, anything from an EV ownership experience, even if it's just what we like about our Model Y, just on a day-to-day basis, diving deeper into some of the features and different things like that, would love to make some more videos about that. So let me know what you think about our pretty insane story of just everything kind of all happening within just a few hours, and just deciding on a car purchase that same night and just buying it sight unseen. To us, that's a pretty wild notion. To you, that might be completely normal and perfectly fine. So let us know what you think about all of that down below in the comments, and I'll catch you in this next video right here. Thanks for watching. Peace.